All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to RTN's Artificial Intelligence for Restaurants Share Group. I'm Abby Lorden. I am one of the co-founders here at RTN, and it is my honor and pleasure to be with a great group of subject matter experts today, and of course, all of our members that are here listening in and participating in this share group. If you are new to share groups for RTN, these are formats where we bring some of our members to the table, if you will, to come and share some great ideas in the world of AI, to talk about some of the new use cases that they are working on. And we invite all of you that are listening to be active participants and bring questions and ideas to the conversation. So we have 3 member organizations that are going to share content with us today. They're going to share some of the things that they're working on in the world of AI, how they're seeing it evolve the food service landscape. We'll get into a little bit more detail on our 3 presentations momentarily. But what I wanted to say first and foremost is if you haven't done so already, it's really great if you go into your username and you just update it with your company. So you'll see the little 3 dots next to your name. If you just rename yourself so that we know where you're, what organization you represent, makes this easier for us to kind of follow along and call on you. Each one of our presenters is going to have about 8 minutes to share with you their exciting ideas today. And then after each presenter speaks, I'm going to invite anybody that's listening in with questions to come off mic and ask your questions. If you have questions that you want to send us through chat, by all means, please do that as well. And we're going to move through all 3 of our presentations today. And if we have a little bit more time for open Q&A at the end, we will certainly do that. I want to also call out these 3 member organizations, Fingermark, the Howard Company, and PAR Technology. We really appreciate their participation in RTN as members. Those of you that are not as familiar with RTN, and I think many of you are, but if you're not as familiar with some of the work that we're really doing, it's to drive standards, one of our core reasons for being. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have members rolling up their sleeves and participating in conversations, and if we didn't have technology companies helping us to support that initiative through their funding. So big shout out to the companies that are presenting today, because they are directly helping to enable standardization by being a part of their membership, as well as all the companies that are members and on the line with us today. So with that, I'm going to get off my soapbox and I'm going to officially start the program. Coming to the stage first, we have the team from Fingermark, Simon Foley and Tim Yarbrough. They have a new technology that they're going to share a little bit about called IQ, a new platform that offers context for video capture. Not only are they going to share a little bit about their new solution with us, but the future state of that, which is how to start to drive more intelligence around summarizing and tagging data using AI to start to get even more exciting contextual information off of what the video capture tools are doing. So to talk through it a little bit and then to answer your questions, I'm excited to turn it over to the Fingermark team. You guys can go ahead and pop up your screen share whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Abby.
Sorry, just making sure we're up now. Thank you, Abby, for the introduction. Right, so my name's Simon and I have Tim with me also here from Fingermark. I'm going to give you a quick background into Fingermark. We are a company that is exclusively focused on the QSR industry, and we've been around for coming up 20 years. So our background was in digital signage, content, and kiosks, and we still do that today. So we almost have 2 divisions within our company. So we've got our digital, and then we have the AI computer vision platform, which I'll explain to you guys today. And so IQ is a platform for drive-through intelligence, and it's actually extending beyond the drive-through now into back of house and front of house operations in restaurants. So the core of IQ is it's a computer vision system. So we're using cameras across the restaurant to basically bring insights up to both staff, operators, and then corporate levels. The reason we built IQ is actually because of our experience in the industry. We had customers coming to us essentially saying they have problems with existing technologies such as loop timers in the ground, both with accuracy, but also with changing drive-through and restaurant operations. So we now have brands running multiple lanes with people out in the drive-through, taking orders, running orders out to vehicles. And there was really no way with analog technology to track what was going on. So IQ solves that problem by allowing us to handle complex layouts, add more precision into interactions between staff and customers. So at a base level, we're running Edge AI, so we're working heavily with NVIDIA. In the store, we run a server with a grunty NVIDIA GPU, and we do all the processing of the camera footage on the edge, and then we send metadata up to the cloud. We provide real-time dashboards in the stores. We provide historical data boards, and then we're also, through the use of AI, starting to send triggers and notifications to staff through a variety of means, such as wearables, watches, and actually starting to integrate into existing drive-through headsets. So I'll let you jump in now, Tim.
Yeah, so as Simon mentioned, IQ has really changed the landscape of how we understand what's happening in and around the restaurant. So, and that's kind of where Monitor comes in. We developed this tool so that we could essentially capture and categorize events that occur in and around the restaurant so that they can be easily identified and reviewed later. And so the business case, a lot of this came up originally. So when cameras first introduced into the restaurant, we found that a lot of the operations team were going back and trying to find information around what's happening at certain points of the restaurant so they can apply it to their training programs. So they would spend a lot of time just going through and just hours and hours searching through content to try to grab certain things that were happening along the line. Well, so what we did is that we took what we were doing within the restaurant with computer vision and IQ, and we started tagging these things and identifying events that happen within the restaurant. And we can capture video on both sides of that event, categorize the event, and then make it easy for someone to easily log in, see the events that they're looking for, select on that event, and then they can see all the cameras at one time around what's happening and when that event happened. And so they can look at that and they can identify that quickly and drive that into their training programs, among other things. So that was the initial component and thought around it. Really what it's done is it's really opened the door. And in a few minutes, Simon's going to go a little further down the line on that, but it's like categorizing all kinds of different events that happen within the drive-through, within what we call a human vehicle interaction, just the interaction between a person and a vehicle, or other things that happen, right? And if there's a portion of your drive, for example, that is running slow, well, just something upstream may be causing that slow downstream, and you may not always understand what that event was. So if we capture an event that happens several times over a period of time, and then we can go back and look at that and go, oh, well, this wasn't the problem in this location. It was really caused over here because someone was out of position within the restaurant, and that caused everything to go awry. So we can identify those quickly, outline them, and use them for other things. And with that, I'll turn it over to Simon. He can talk more about how we understand the triggers and use them.
Thanks, Tim. So just going to play you guys a little video in the background. Hopefully this is running for you. So this is just an example of events that we've already categorized in Monitor, and as Tim has explained, we're capturing the context at the time of the event right across the store. What we're able to do is go and set up different triggers, so various things that IQ can surface. We can create triggers within our system so that we automatically log those events. We can send them to Monitor. We can also send those events to our dashboards or to email and wearables and things like that. So just very briefly, like that's how we are going through and setting up events for customers. What we're doing though is we're starting to use more AI into the categorization and tagging. And so the initial version of Monitor requires a staff member or an operator to review the events and then tag the root cause. And so as Tim mentioned, often it's, well, the drive-through is backed up, but we're tagging it to say the problem here was over in the fry bay where you didn't have your chips down fast enough. And so understanding that, we start to pull it out. But what we're doing in the background now is we're using video language models, which are essentially an extension to large language models. You'll all know things like ChatGPT. And we're feeding it all of that context of the event that we've captured and monitor. And it's coming out in auto tagging. It's telling us where people were and starting to learn about what the problems were. So really it's a shortcut towards just highlighting immediately what needs to be watched. And so even filtering even, I guess, deeper into monitor to reduce the reduce the overhead for stores, which is what we want. And what that's doing as well is it's starting to drive, so I showed you very quickly the trigger creator. This information that we're now gathering and auto summarizing is allowing us to go through and suggest triggers and suggest thresholds to stores. So again, taking away the manual setup and just telling them this is what we believe you need to see in your store to ensure operational success. So I think that's it for us. We're trying to go quickly, guys, but I'm happy to answer any questions and definitely connect. Like we are, obviously working with some major brands around the world, but the future for us is in the partnerships. And I mentioned there things like headset integrations with people like PAR. So those are the type of things we're working in the background really to expand and open up the data across the store.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both, Simon and Tim. It's really pretty exciting technology that you shared with us. I know you said you're partnering with some brands. To the extent that you're able to, do you have any pilots that you can share with the folks that are listening in today? And if you're not allowed to do that, I know that sometimes that disclosure is not approved, so it's okay to say you can't.
Yeah, look, the IQ platform itself, I'd say our biggest customer to date is McDonald's Australia. We've been working with them for over 6 years, and we're rolled out across somewhere around 400 stores. I'm not sure the exact number. And then working with brands like RBI, particularly in New Zealand. We have some case studies that are public, so we can definitely share that. And yeah, North America expansion is happening at the moment. So we're currently in pilot with 5 different brands. And nearing rollout with some. So basically, background, we're based down in New Zealand. So Australasia is our main testing ground and footprint, but the North American push is where we're going for this year.
Exciting. Nice. Congratulations. I think Kevin, you have a hand raised. Do I have that right?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Yes. God, thanks for the presentation. I know just from experience that this is the drive-thru is obviously critical for us here in the States, and people are trying to solve for the various challenges. One question I have here, though, is from a data privacy standpoint, with all the data laws and stuff coming out, how do you handle that? Because, right, my understanding or past experiences, I can identify the license plate and then tie that to me as a consumer. How are you guys getting around that? Or do you see that as a challenge here in the States?
It's definitely a challenge state by state because there's not one simple answer in the industry for what's allowed. But we've built our system from the ground up to ensure that we're not taking any customer information. So when we're tracking, for example, vehicles across the drive-through, we're using our own, I guess, proprietary models to re-identify vehicles from camera to camera. We aren't using license plate information as part of the system, so we're not using that to match vehicles. Like it would be fair to say that the footage could capture license plate information, so it's there, but it's not used by us. So the data and the metadata we send out to the cloud doesn't have any of that PPI. Going forward, our brands are looking at us to start potentially hooking into loyalty systems. And the key there, we're treading carefully. We've built as much as we can without going anywhere near private information, but it's going to be really around opt-in and notification to customers. It's a little bit like what's happening with the voice AI systems is you pretty much have to be very clear to customers what's going on at the site.
Great question. Any other questions? If anybody has a question, want to raise your hand and come on off mic.
Hey, Abby, Tim Davis here.
Hey, Tim.
How are you? I'm sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand, but
It's all good. Thanks for being here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to chime in. Real quick, I think the use case of identifying bottlenecks in the restaurant is fantastic. I'm just wondering about other use cases. So, for example, do you have any use cases where it can be used to identify employee theft or physical violence or issues going on either in the restaurant or in the parking lot or other situations where you want to notify management?
So I guess there's two parts to that question. In terms of things like employee theft, what we are doing with the monitor system is we're hooking into point of sale. So we're taking data and looking at potentially risky transactions. So it might be a refund. It might be that we want to go and review every refund. But what we can do with the computer vision system is kind of apply layers across that. So perhaps there's a lot of refunds in the day, but we want to specifically look at refunds where there was no customer on the other side of the counter, which might highlight a significant risk. So in a way, we're able to surface that, but we're not, we're not building models to look at someone putting a $5 note in their pocket.
Or how about product going out the back door?
I guess so. The next part to that, my answer would be that anything is essentially possible if we build a model around it. So with our platform, I mentioned briefly, like we started in the drive-thru and we're moving towards back of house, so and front of house. So essentially, like the infrastructure and the platform we're running in the store can be adapted with new models and new use cases. And so we do work with brands, but they've got specific processes around production and bagging. So we build custom models for stores. But at the moment, we haven't focused on, goods going out the back.
Great,
Now,
thank you.
Has been around speed of service and operational efficiencies. So that's where we're putting most of our efforts at this point in time.
Casey, from Jack in the Box, I see you have your hand raised. We'll do one more question, then we'll move to our next segment. And I also think we'll have time for more open conversation as we wrap up. So Casey, why don't you go ahead and take the floor?
Yeah, hopefully it's quick. Hi, Simon. Great presentation. Curious if you're having any discussions with your current pilots or customers that have franchisees, how are they allowing franchisees to leverage a tool like this with joint employer concerns, or is that not? They make it available and then each company owner individually is able to review those types of activities, or have you not run into that yet?
So all of our engagements to date have been enterprise with corporate. So we normally, we haven't done any, in saying that, we're in a lot of franchise communities, but we always work with the brand first. So we haven't been working, say, with a franchisee and then it pops up and corporate gets wind of it. It's more like we go top down, we work with them on pilots to get, I guess, depending on the makeup, either like a right to sell, so that we can be signed off and go out to the brands, or, we've had corporate that own, hundreds of their own stores. So we go there first. But yeah, as to, we are starting to navigate the intricacies of the franchise community where corporate doesn't necessarily want a legal tie to the, say, operator's staff. And so there are some things like touchy. And in fact, what the brands we're working with like about what we're doing is that we can start to communicate messages to brands without it being corporate speak. And so it's actually working out quite positively. Like there's things that corporate doesn't want to tell you how to move your staff around, how to roster people. But if a system like ours can assist, they're very happy to bring us on board.
Interesting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So fantastic information shared and really appreciate all of the questions. We're going to move to our second presenter, which comes to us from a new member of the RTN community. The Howard Company has joined us just within the last couple months. Paul Schwantes, the Digital Services Manager from the Howard Company. Paul, as a new member of RTN, just when you go ahead and take the stage, just let everybody know a little bit about what the Howard Company does. And then I know what Paul's going to be focused on is voice AI in the drive-thru and what customers are learning with their experiences. So Paul, please go ahead and take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let me get shared here. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Looks great.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, so my name is Paul. I'm with the Howard Company. I've been part of the organization for a little over 6 years now. The company itself, however, is 75 years old, and we've been working a large part of that time period in the restaurant space. First couple of slides are a few of the things that we do. Let's see if we can get it advance. Come on, slides, move forward. Oh, now we've gone too far forward. Yeah, so who we are and what we do. We basically are a branding signage and technology provider for the restaurant industry. We really support customers of any size. So we have some that are mom and pop. We have also quite a few growing and developing brands, all the way up to the larger, bigger chains that are out there. We are a manufacturer that is a UL certified house. That's a great uh, piece of importance when you're actually trying to get permitting to put drive-through signs together. Having it be UL certified allows things to go through a little bit smoother. We make static and digital solutions as well as hybrid solutions that mix light boxes with digital screens and any combination thereof. We also round out the offering with a lot of professional services. So we will consult and engineer. We do a lot of custom work where somebody might have a preset graphic size, but they want to combine that into a single structure with maybe a 55-inch outdoor screen, for example. So we'll make some custom cabinets for those types of things. We are US based and have multiple teams of people that also offer other professional services. But what we really are is a systems integrator. So we work with multiple partners. Some of the best in breed types of brands are listed here. This is just a sampling of some of the folks that we work with. And when it comes to AI, this being the topic of this conversation, we've been involved in things that are computer vision related, looking for timing, drive-through timers, similar to what we just looked at. We also have had some machine learning from some of our kiosk manufacturers. The software providers have AI that do an automatic A/B testing. So as it's doing those upsells and presenting different things to try to increase that ticket size, it's learning and trying to figure out what's the best item for that particular kiosk at that particular store. So as you go throughout different regions of the company, of the country, even for the same chain, you might have different trends that are geographic, and that system is learning that and presenting the best upsell to get the best margin for those specific locations. But the rest of the presentation is going to be really talking about the natural learning, natural language side of our AI systems. We've partnered with a few different conversational AI types of solutions. And what we've built is some of our own software that kind of is the glue that brings things together. So the example being some brands that have AI from either IBM Watson or from Hi Auto that want to be able to send that data to a digital display and have order confirmation. But there's also times that you need to have the human intervention and they want to have order confirmation at that point. So our order confirmation solution listens to both a very simple JSON API that we've created, and that's what IBM Watson and Hi Auto have written to. So we're listening for that communication to come as they're building their orders. But we're also listening to either PAR's Brink format or NCR Aloha's ATG sending us information. So seamlessly, without anybody need to change anything at the restaurant, if human intervention happens, the order confirmation automatically switches. It's a stateless type of thing that you get the entire communication from one system or the other, and on the fly, it's presenting that information the same consistent way to your guests. So that's what we've built. In general, our customers, the operators, they're learning that AI really is living up to the hype. It is doing all the things that these vendors are suggesting that it can do. They are getting more accurate, that conversational where you can order things in kind of local lingo, that's all starting to get better. There is a true clear story of ROI, both for order confirmation on its own, but then also adding AI where it has some additional upsells and other capabilities, especially when it comes to labor. The bots are always upselling. They never forget to upsell. The bots also never call in sick. They're always in a pleasant mood. All those benefits are true. It's not snake oil. It actually works, which is pretty exciting for the industry. And guests and staff in general are happier. and the operators can redistribute some of the labor that they have in this labor challenge market. Additionally, they're learning some other challenges, however, and as a disruptive technology, which is normally thought of as a very positive thing, that this is disrupting, it's going to change our industry. It is, but it's also disruptive to the business as it currently is. So some of the things that happen is typically made to order items or items that take a little bit longer lead time of steaming some milk for a coffee drink. Because the way the APIs work today between the AI system and the POS, most of them are sent in as batches, the same way that you do a mobile order. The manufacturers of the POSs are starting to redevelop APIs, but today most of these are getting batched in, which means you don't get any information into the system to go to the kitchen display monitor or a chit or anything else until that order is finished. So you're losing some of that prep time to start grilling a patty or dropping some fries in the basket. You're losing some of that time that the old, call it analog way, you could hear it over a grill speaker, or you could have somebody shout it, or they, as they're keying in, certain items can route to those kitchen printers and KDS systems. They're also seeing that the costs to do the AI is a little bit higher. They're budgeting and planning for what is that ongoing SaaS model for those people, but there's a lot of other infrastructure that might need to be brought up to speed to be able to support these technologies. And so it's just something else that they're learning, that there's a few more things, especially when it comes to the POS upgrades, doing that system wide, or the communication system. The headset needs to perhaps go from analog to a digital based system, depending on those vendors. The speed of drive-through is getting slowed down for some of the reasons above, that there's a made-to-order item that now you're parking more cars potentially because you're not hearing about those orders sooner. You also have a lot of customers that aren't used to the technology. If you want a little bit of a laugh, if you search for, if you're a fan of Saturday Night Live, a couple years ago they did an example of a commercial, or a spoof on a commercial for the Amazon Echo Silver Edition. If you look for that on YouTube, you can entertain yourself, but then watch it a second time and picture those same actors going through an AI drive-through system trying to order something. It's really challenging. My parents are in their 80s, my in-laws are in their 80s. It's not technology for everyone. So even if it was perfect accuracy, worked every single time, some of the customers just are not ready. So you need to have a solution for when the system is offline or being interrupted. A big part of that is also the deployment strategy. We need to train customers and train our staff to deal with this. So some of the stores that are turning on a system right out the get-go, as soon as they've figured out technically how to hook it up, are not having as much success as somebody who is turning it on in the slower times and slowly increasing that time period, that range of when they want to enable the AI system and when they might want to turn it off for operational purposes. Maybe in the busiest time of the day is not the time to use something that's going to potentially slow you down, building that stack bigger to having some people drive off. And the guest experience of when that is not enabled, having that be consistent, and for brands or stores that are in a rollout phase, that you don't get the same consistent feel if the store is not running your AI system and they're running some other solution. So those are some challenges. Those challenges also get a little bit emphasized more in the franchise model. There's a lot of existing franchise agreements that don't have language in there to say that a franchisee needs to upgrade certain technology components. So it becomes an extra challenge of how do you get them to slowly come along, or what is that rollout grace period for them to adopt a new technology. You hope that you can sell it and everybody wants to buy into it, but some of the franchisees are a little bit slower to update or upgrade, or they want to wait to the next version. They don't want to be on the bleeding edge. All those things are common for the franchise model. But that brings then, what is the challenge of how do you keep your brand that standard and the guest experience the same across all those stores if they don't have the same technology, the same deployment strategies? And just in general, talking to franchisees, and I think this happens on any level of technology for franchisees, their networks, their infrastructure, and their specialists of IT are not the same as talking to a corporate store. It's really like you're speaking in tongues when you ask for certain things to try to troubleshoot. Is it on the right VLAN? What network do you have it plugged into? Can I get a static IP so that cash register can send the data to a device? They have no idea what you're talking about, and it makes it an extra challenge just to support and roll out to those types of larger networks or larger groups. But I still think that the future is going to be really positive. The accuracy, again, from these vendors, they are the subject matter experts. They're getting faster and better and more efficient all the time. It's always exciting to go to the NRA types of shows. Looking forward to seeing more of this at MERTEC. It's great to see these things happening. We know from multiple other vendors that they are working on new APIs for support of things like AI, where it doesn't get batched in at the end of the order, that you can get line level, line transactional data as the order and modifiers are coming in, so they can route to kitchen printers and kitchen display systems. So we're looking for that future. And guests will get more used to this. If you think back 20, 25 years ago, going to the airport, seeing the first kiosks, they had ticket agents standing there teaching us as the public how to use those systems. Now it's, there's a lot less staff. Everybody understands how those travel kiosks work. We're going to see something similar as these restaurants continue to do more AI. It's going to become a standard. And as other pieces of the pie, as the technology comes along, you'll have less analog systems, more digital ready for adopting these things. So that's the future of our AI customers. That's the end of my presentation. Ready for any questions.
Fantastic, Paul. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions or comments for what Paul shared, go ahead and raise a hand and we can spend a couple minutes on that before we move on to our third component. I want to comment, Paul, while folks are seeing if they have any questions, that what you talked about as far as the sort of the educational hurdles that need to be overcome to get franchisees comfortable with this. I'm thinking this could be an area where the RTN membership community could be supportive, right? If we collectively put together sort of a cheat sheet for how to help franchisees understand why AI is going to be a valuable solution in their organizations, and maybe shorthand some of these things that require some technical experience, right? So that it's consistently some great education across the industry, as opposed to it needing to be every individual restaurant brand having to tackle that. I think that's something that, if for our membership community, if you're interested, if that would be a valuable tool for you, you could just let us know, amen, in chat. Yes, you love that idea. And it's something that we can take a look at, spinning up some work stream around that. Do we have any questions for Paul? I think Alonzo Vargas, I see a hand up. Alonzo, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Abby. Hey, Paul, just a real quick question. For what kind of advice do you have for vendors with regards to what they should be doing in the next 12 to 18 months? Obviously open APIs, having, standards around that, but is there anything else that you would recommend in order to help, companies accelerate their AI roadmaps?
The biggest one is probably getting multiple departments involved. So we have a long history of doing digital signage at the Howard Company. And our main points of contacts within the brands to talk to were either marketing or the IT departments. But AI touches so many other teams because it's part of operations. You get a lot of operations. It's part of the facilities management because you have to build the infrastructure a little bit more when it comes to construction and conduit and other things that are a little bit more advanced than just the IT department approving it to be on their network. There's a lot more integrations to the database. So you're looking at some people that might be a subset of the IT for managing the POS. So I would say just get a bigger group involved sooner, because it's going to touch more than just your typical digital signage type of scenarios, at least for AI in the drive-thru.
Hey, thank you for that, Howard. This is Vamsi. So as we dig into deeper details about the menus, as you get into the modifiers, as you get into differentiated sort of verbiage across menus, right? QSRs to other things. I mean, with Gen AI and AI definitely will help normalize and say, someone says, I don't like cheese, you want to normalize that across all of these menus. Are you seeing any of the QSRs having the ability to take in some of these more natural language and then convert it to the exact modifiers that they desire, or is that still an external capability?
We have seen quite a few, just from the natural conversation. If you think about a few years ago when somebody had to add, they had very, very specific prompts that you had to say, add this item, and you try to delete something or change your order, you might find out you had to get to a certain word that worked of remove. Today, it's much easier that you can say, give me this, swap that, scratch that. And it's
Right.
interpreting all those different languages. I think the modifiers can be the same thing, that you've got a certain way that you call a certain cheese, people tease about government cheese, just a place, a regular craft single. I think that the systems will learn all those things and can do that. And on the order confirmation side, we support items, modifiers, sub modifiers. So the guests would be able to see all those things and then really understand that the AI system understood it as long as they would send that message. Again, we have a very simple JSON API that just allows you to send items, modifiers, sub modifiers, and then they could be formatted differently to present on the screen as those come across.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, Digital
Thank you.
Services Manager with the Howard Company, and great questions. Thank you, everyone, for bringing these great questions to the table. So we're going to do one more presentation, and then we'll have time for another round of conversation and questions. So I would love to welcome to the microphone Oliver Ostertag, General Manager of Brink and Payments with PAR Technology. I'm going to invite Oliver to go ahead and come off mic and put up a screen share, Oliver, at your convenience.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Abby. So I'm Ollie Ostertag. I'm the general manager of what we've retitled since as our operator cloud business segment at PAR. And today, what I wanted to discuss is essentially this idea of AI as a driver, not only of efficiency, but also of empathy. We've spent a lot of time speaking to franchisees, speaking to different restaurant concepts and understanding where they were expecting to take AI in 2025 and beyond. And ultimately, what we summed up is that there is more to AI than just driving better analytics. There's a lot more that we can do with the innovations in this space. Just a quick primer on PAR for anyone not familiar. What we've done recently is really restructure our business to be focused principally on the software side. We have two different clouds. One is focused on operator buyers. So think, chief technology officers, chief operating officers, chief financial officers. So our products span point of sale, payments, back office products, as well as a global unified point of sale platform. On the engagement cloud, we're selling principally to chief marketing officers and chief digital officers and really pushing forward their loyalty products as well as online ordering products. Really important thing to note about PAR, we completed recently the acquisition of Delegate at the end of last year, and that really is allowing us to accelerate our innovation on the data analytics play, and which ultimately allows us to innovate more across different channels. So really bringing our wider product suite together to drive greater and greater insights, and then bringing AI into the fold there to drive results. So, in terms of promoting AI as an empathetic partner, a lot of this stems from discussions with franchisees. Ultimately, franchisees, whether they run one store or 10 store or 100 stores, they care a lot about the customer experience because a customer has many different choices and they are proactively deciding to go to one or another location. Ultimately, what they are expecting out of AI is to drive a better customer experience. The customer needs to feel seen, feel heard, that the brand understands what they're looking for. And two areas there where we've seen some steps forwards are both on the voice AI side as well as kiosk personalization. So these are just examples that franchisees have put in front of us. We've been discussing with various different vendors as well. And we really do think that there's a lot of upside here. So from a voice AI perspective, a lot of the innovation can be done to drive empathy with voice interaction. So specifically, having an AI voice that feels human, feels natural, is exuding empathy. And as a next step, even being able to combine a brand ambassador into that voice AI. Ultimately, that interaction can drive, attractiveness to the brand. From a kiosk personalization standpoint, we do see various brands experimenting with having brand ambassadors engage, right? Bringing a bit of feeling, some extra special, component to the interaction with the brand, such as with Big Chicken. And then ultimately, it's again the ability to have digital touch points that provide something differentiated. Again, you're not just buying a burger, you're experiencing what that brand means to you. And voice AI and kiosk personalization are two of the very near-term ways that we have seen, brands and franchisees think about this. Ultimately, of course, there's a wider question here of driving efficiency as well, but this is where efficiency meets personalization. So for instance, on the predictive inventory management side, actually having AI identify stock that might be expiring and being able to promote fun new promotions. So for instance, you could have a free hot dog day that is tied more to an area where that matters. Maybe a fun spin on free hot dog day for the winners of college football, etc. Right? So ultimately, you can drive revenue while also reducing waste and hence, juicing up margins. From loyalty insight perspective, there are obviously different ways to engage loyal customers versus non-loyal customers. Tailoring campaigns that are really driving engagement and conversions. This is something that you can do when you're providing, on a deeper basis, the linkage between loyalty, point of sale, and back of house, right? Just having a full view into the different channels that are coming into the restaurant. And then lastly here, back of house optimization for us, this is really being able to schedule labor based on what the forecasted demand is per AI model. So again, understanding what the likely volumes are going to be, especially when you run new initiatives such as, for instance, the free hot dog day, what is required, and then streamlining on that basis. These are operational ways in order to make AI really work. So to kind of put this together, for us, when we're thinking 2025, 2026, AI means, number one, predictive analytics. We really do think that real-time insights drive much better decision makings on behalf of the general manager. You are empowering them to go deeper with their decisions. They are seeing more insight into their restaurants, into their customers, and they can make better calls. Customer recognition for us really means engaging across all channels, understanding again, whether a customer is a loyal customer, non-loyal customer, what the specific profile is, and then meeting them where they are. From an AI influencer perspective, it's again personalizing the brand by, for instance, bringing in a brand ambassador in a meaningful way where you can visually see them or hear them. That matters because ultimately there is a reason why brands choose the likes of a Shaquille O'Neal to be the brand ambassador. It's a standout for the brand. And then lastly, from a scalability and reliability perspective, what I wanted to call out is that innovation at scale, which is really where PAR is investing heavily, is the gold standard. So when vendors are testing out new AI, concepts are deciding to choose a new AI-based process, it matters that you can scale this, that it is resilient at scale. Innovation at scale is hard. That's ultimately why you will see a couple of fail starts here by vendors in this space. But ultimately, that is what needs to be achieved in order to be able to drive this across the largest concepts out there. One thing I again wanted to show is what PAR right now is working on, right? How we're approaching AI. We're moving from software as a service to agent as a service, and this is also something that we're able to more easily enable through our recent acquisition of Delegate. And here's just an example of what this can look like in context. So again, the whole idea is proactive analysis of what is actually in your store. So to begin with, it could be the case that you have hot dogs where the expiry date is within a couple of days, right? You're an 11 store franchisee. You understand that hot dogs are likely to expire because you are seeing a ping on your dashboard. They're expiring. Next, a promotion can actually be created where you have the ability to target specific customers with a hot dog promotion and really, again, look at customers that do not have, in this case, any chargebacks. So you are maximizing who you are actually engaging with. Then you have the ability to automatically, again, if you click, hey, I'm going to schedule this campaign, schedule your actual labor. That is needed in order to run this successfully. And then lastly, getting a predictive view of what you are likely to actually achieve financially by running such a campaign. So essentially what we are saying is that depth of analysis really depends on having deeper and deeper integrations with your data. For PAR, data is king. You'll hear this over and over again from our company. We're building a data platform for a reason, because we want to empower restaurant operators to make the best possible decisions in real time, right? So again, that is just meant as an overall example of what we're looking at. And lastly, I would flag, there's always a bit of anxiety when you get new technology in the space. For us, AI isn't actually about replacing humans. It's really about driving better results, streamlining while still driving greater frictionless touch points between brands and the buyers that decide to frequent them. That really is, for us in a nutshell, how we are seeing AI currently and what we are building here in 2025 and 2026.
Fantastic, Ollie. Thank you so much for that overview. What you shared really brought to context for me how much of bringing AI to life also really requires like the creative and content and marketing teams at these organizations to be thinking about the possibilities, right? Because the data is great to have, but then how we take that to our own individual markets and our own individual customers. So much of that is bringing marketing and the loyalty teams and so forth into the conversation as you're starting to put these solutions together. That really came into focus for me with what you shared. So thank you. Want to open the floor, questions for Oliver? We certainly have plenty of questions for the time for the whole panel, but if there's any specific questions on what Ollie shared from the PAR team, please raise your hand and we'll have you come off mic. Hey, Kevin, go ahead and come on and bring your question.
I just realized I'm not on camera. I've been sitting here this whole time. I'm like, great presentation. I love the empathy piece, especially as people are looking at AI, similar to like kiosk and things of that nature, where we're going to replace labor. So I love that piece of it, and talking about it's actually there to enhance our jobs, and how we do it. The thing I want to piggyback off of what Abby said is bringing everyone together. It's in a way forced collaboration to make us interact. So many times in the business, we operate in silos. So I love that aspect as well. I'm not sure I saw anything on internal business. This was all like restaurant focused. How are you guys looking at it from like support center, HR functions and things of that nature? And I may have missed that part.
Yeah, from an internal perspective, so within PAR, we're certainly looking at streamlining how we engage with support. So for instance, having better analytics into what is driving, the different call volumes and aligning on a fix faster. That's where our investments have gone into. And then also things like engaging via chat. Those are just the first couple of steps, because Kevin, to your point, it's not about replacing our employees. It's about giving them better tools to make faster, better decisions, right? So not having someone, figure out via different emails what exactly is going on, but seeing a likely list of causes and being able to address them faster.
Hey, awesome. Will you be sharing this? Are you able to share this presentation?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Casey, you had a question as well?
I do. I'm curious, do you have to be a PAR customer? Is this a PAR customer exclusive offer?
Casey, by this you mean our PAR data platform, or?
Yeah, like if you don't have a PAR POS, how are you able to leverage this tool or this offering?
Yeah, Casey, this is something that we're building towards, right? Being able to plug in, PAR is always going to be open in our philosophy. So, you will see this extended to different providers as well. First though, as we are building this, we're first making sure that this works within our ecosystem, and then you could expect to see this go beyond just that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for answering. I'll say, side note, great presentation. I'm going to put a vote out there for you and Kevin to create your own manaverse of like empathy as king. And we're marching towards this new future. I'm super excited. Also, this is very exciting. I'm super happy for PAR in this because this is a niche space, as you guys mentioned, where there are not many people that understand, are generalists in this industry. So you don't have a lot of people that have all loyalty, marketing, operational, data, information systems backgrounds that can kind of put all the pieces together to determine what's a good use case for this data. Or we have a lot of data in a data lake, but how can we make it actionable, and what story are we trying to tell with that data? So this is really, really exciting. My company is not a PAR customer, but I'll be waiting anxiously to see where this goes. So great work.
Casey, appreciate that. Look, the other thing for us at PAR that's really important, we're currently partnered with 40 of the top 50 brands. And, again, for us, our products are integrated with hundreds of other third-party providers. So that's again, this piece on openness, just being able to have a wider view of what is happening within different restaurants, which products drive the most results. That's ultimately where we're headed.
Yeah, are you guys seeing anything around the kiosk recommendations generator? Like at one point we were doing some research when I was with Wendy's, where we were seeing the kiosk wasn't so much a labor offset, but more so a check, increased check driver. And after talking to a lot of customers, some of it came from like shame-based, right? So how many people are willing to get that extra large shake if they don't have to say it out loud in front of their friends at lunchtime, but are willing to type it into the kiosk or to explore the menu more instead of feeling rushed by the line piling up behind them. So I'm curious if you're able to see insights like what's driving some, obviously not the psychological effect, but like what the trends are showing with this type of model as well.
Yeah, we've certainly seen some of that. I will tell you, there's definitely a correlation between kiosk and what the amount of purchase size is. They're definitely seeing advantages on the upsell. We're seeing that.
Awesome, thanks.
And Casey, always happy to give referrals if you ping me directly. Wouldn't put it out there right now, but always happy to take it offline.
Yes, will do. Thank you.
So we have a few minutes remaining. I want to invite, if there are any questions for anybody on the panel, if you had some questions you didn't get a chance to ask them yet, please just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll get to you. You can raise your hand, and we'll get your questions answered while we still have a few minutes. While folks are thinking about that, one other example that I wanted to share just came back from NRF, like others on the call. And I wandered into the AWS booth, and there was an incredible station in the center of the AWS booth that was beautiful in the way that it looked. I mean, if it was like a Barbie cityscape, right? It was really, really inviting with the colors. And there was a tablet set up there where I took on the persona of a marketer trying to bring a go-to-market ad campaign to market across multiple platforms, right? Across digital billboards, across custom emails, across newsletter campaigns, across like any digital platform that you could imagine. And so I, as the marketer, completed a quick query where I talked about what were the values of the customer that I thought I wanted to really appeal to with this marketing campaign, right? Is this somebody who's like millennial and focused on aspects of work-life balance? Or is this somebody that's talking a customer group that's maybe focused on sustainability, right? I put in the elements of the campaign that I was trying to accomplish. I checked a few boxes with respect to the demographic group that I wanted to reach. Now, all of this would have had to be powered by a CDP. So a CDP in the background, filling the AI tool with your customer data. And now I'm completing a query to kind of bring to the surface the customer variables that I want to reach, the customers that I want to be able to reach with this campaign. I plugged that information in. I chose the product. In this case, it was a beauty product that I was looking to bring to market. I hit a button, and all of the screens that were around me in this cityscape immediately came to life with a suggested campaign, all driven by AI, right? So it was like, hey, imagine reaching this customer here's the billboard that they might see when they're walking through the airport. Here's the email campaign that you're going to send them. Here's something that's going to go onto maybe a smaller remarketing ad that's going to follow them. And it was all part of this incredible through line, right? And my first thought was, if I'm a marketer, how am I not completely, like, I'm amazed, but I'm also a little intimidated how much of this just took the place of what I needed to do, right? And they very thoughtfully said, listen, all of this needs oversight by a person, right? But it takes what can be a long time to start to create some of these campaigns and shorten that life cycle. It was unbelievable how quickly an incredible marketing campaign was created before my eyes. All of that is based on a CDP, right? So you've got to have the data and the CDP in place in order to be able to drive something like that. But I was really impressed. Before we wrap up, any other comments or questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I can't see the raise hand feature on my screen, so I had to rudely interrupt.
Problem.
I have a question for the first group. It was I think Simon or Tim.
Yes.
Okay.
Our friends from Fingermark. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the one. So with your technology, interesting. How much, for example, if an establishment, a chain, or let's say a single entity has their existing cameras and POS, how much can you work with what they already have, or do you have to retrofit everything hardware-wise to make your application work?
That depends a little
Yes.
bit. Oh, go ahead, Simon.
No, you can go, Tim. I've done enough talking.
Yeah, so existing cameras are challenging because a lot of times they're analog, that are there in the restaurant, and two, they typically are not necessarily pointing in directions that make sense for us. They're more focused on other areas, right? So we try to be very focused on what we place. So typically we will install cameras around the restaurant to ensure that we capture the areas that we need to accurately identify events that are occurring around that, right? So not saying it can't be done if cameras can take multiple profiles when they meet certain criteria and everything's perfect, but then you get into other support challenges as well, because a lot of times your video SLAs are very different than you might want to have with something that we're doing in the drive-thru of the restaurant that we're doing more real-time data around, right? So it might be a week to get a camera replaced, where we're much more reactive than that based on what we're trying to get done with the metrics and the data that we're collecting.
Okay. Yeah, that's obviously one of the thoughts I have. You know, many restaurants will already invest in certain camera system, so it's important to get to them early so that they haven't made this investment and then have to drop it to implement your solution.
And many times we see them honestly leveraging both to an extent, right? So you don't have to do one or the other. I mean, they can coexist within an environment as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, I want to thank our presenters, our speakers, for sharing such great ideas today. Simon and Tim from Fingermark, Paul from the Howard Company, and Ollie from PAR. Fantastic job. Really exciting conversations. Just a quick save the date for one of the next upcoming meetings that we have going on in RTN's world. We have a new town hall. It's going to be taking place February 25th. This is a fun swizzle. I love that word, a swizzle on how we've run town halls in the past. We're changing the formatting up a little bit. We're going to make these unscripted conversations between restaurants and technology suppliers on hot topics. So the format of this, the restaurant operators have told us what some of the questions are that they want answered. And then we've gone and found supplier members of the RTN community that have some ideas on some of these. And one of the consistent themes that our restaurant operators are going to put these folks in the hot seat around for our February session is, how do we keep up with all this new tech in 2025, right? There's so much stuff coming at us. How do we stay abreast of those topics and kind of see the forest through the trees? We're also going to talk a little bit about